Did you watch the Green and White game last night? Man, I didn't have a chance to be there, but I do want to say thank you to @Joe Farella for literally doing a play-by-play on Twitter that I was able to go ahead and follow along and see what you guys are seeing. Although I'm pretty positive it was way more electric live. But nonetheless, if you were at the game last night or if you weren't at the game last night, this is going to be your New York Jets situation report debrief. And I'm going to tell you also, I bet there's two things most of you guys missed that are very, very important as to what we should be looking forward to this coming season. What are those two things? Let's talk about it. Okay, so the green and white game was a good one, a doozy. We saw that the offense came out strong, right, from the beginning, executed the gameplay. We saw elevated performances from individuals like Zach Wilson. Brees Hall really showed out. That Tyler Conklin connection is legitimately real. The big play potential of one Garrett Wilson. CJ Uzoma was a little bit disappointing. I actually kind of watched him one route on the one interception for Zach Wilson. It looked like he wasn't even trying, or maybe he was a little unsure about the play. Either way, like that was more so on CJ than it was on Zach. I had to go back and kind of watch to see what happened for that one, and I was able to find some tape on that on Twitter of the interception. But nonetheless, the green and white game was good overall, really, really good. And one of the things I loved about it in the end was how they helped out little AJ get that touchdown. Like that to me was a rewarding like exclamation point at the end of the game, right? Because it shows back that the organization does care about the fans. They want to give back to the fans. They understand how like committed and how passionate we are about this organization, and they're starting to reciprocate a lot of that with us as well, which is just freaking awesome. But let's talk about the green and white game. So what happened? Well, um, Zach Wilson appears to be very, very confident in this offense, very, very comfortable in this offense. He knows the system, he knows the scheme. It's obvious that we got a complete night and day from last year, which is the first thing we should be looking at in terms of his progression. So Zach Wilson had a really, really good day. I think he went 14 of 19, had a couple of drops. Some of those were perfectly thrown. Some of them were a little behind his receivers. But nonetheless, he went for one touchdown, one interception, and he also rushed four times for 24 yards, I believe it was. Zach Wilson had a game. Had a game about 175 yards is what it calculated up to. And one of the things we need to really appreciate is that he was able to attain that stat line, passing the ball around to pretty much every wide receiver on the roster. We had drops today by Elijah Moore, dropped by Jeff Smith, and a drop by Garrett Wilson. And one thing I'll tell you is this: is that I'm sorry, not Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis. It was Corey Davis. One thing I tell you is that I'm not too worried about the drops. Um, Coach Sala actually alluded to the fact that he wasn't concerned about it due to it being at MetLife Stadium. A lot of those guys it's the first time in the stadium. The depth perception was a little concerning, and I I, I think I knew what he meant by that in terms of the bigger lights, bigger distractions. Like your peripherals kind of go wild when you're in a, you know what I'm saying, excited environment like that, right? In terms of peripheral vision, because your eyes trying to catch everything. So I can understand where he was going with in terms of peripheral, in terms of depth perception. But I think he was just talking about the level of distraction that a lot of those guys for the first time in MetLife Stadium were going to be exposed to. So overall, the night was great for Zach Wilson. He showed command of the offense. He knew where he wanted to go with the ball. He was quick and decisive, even on the plays where there were dropped passes. He made the right call. He went the right direction with that play. On the interception, again, it appears to me that CJ Uzoma being kind of lazy on that route allowed I forget who the kid was, but allowed one of the cornerbacks to pick it off, right? But at the end of the day, I think the route that he was going for was the right read in that situation. So that brings me to like the first thing we need to look at that we should be excited for is Jets fans. We saw progression, confidence, and continuity with Zach Wilson, right? We talked about this before. In this offense, year two is extensive. It's impactful. You always see a huge step in terms of comprehension, knowing where to go with the ball, and trusting that. Zach Wilson didn't have any big plays today. I wouldn't say he made a couple of efforts, right? Some nice throw. So like the one just outside of Garrett Wilson's reach was if it was in college, that would have been a touchdown. I forgot who I saw or heard say that today. But one foot in, other foot out. But it was a beautiful throw, beautiful catch. The timing's gonna come where those guys are gonna get that together. But Zach Wilson otherwise pretty much took what the defense gave him. He was able to go through his reads like decisively, very comfortably. We have two tight ends now, legitimate tight ends. Tight ends. Tyler Conklin is coming in right now as potentially a beast and one that Zach Wilson is already growing very comfortable with. Like the whole process is last year, look at the tight ends he had to throw to. His safety blanket in his rookie season. They weren't very reliable. Now in his sophomore season, where he understands and grasps this offense the way he showed last night, he's able to go ahead and dump it down to Tyler Conklin. Brees Hall, who was also freaking explosive today, kind of showed his ability to go ahead and burst through the line. Um, but with Zach Wilson, it's so important for us to note as Jets fans is that towards the end of last year, when he showed his most efficiency and his most effectiveness, Zach Wilson on average got rid of the ball within 2.5 seconds. 2.5 seconds. He would take the three-step drop, whatever it was, boom, get the ball out of his hands. He knew where to go. He was comfortable. We saw a continuation of that last night. Now, it was a tale of two halves, right? Like I said before, it was a good game all around because what I'm saying about that is the second thing we need to look at in terms of what was very important. The defense stepped it up in the second half. Defense in the second half stepped it up. They came back. They got to the quarterback, created pressure. They were definitely doing a much better job sticking with the wide receivers and the tight ends. Wide receivers overall seemed like they had a pretty rough day, but that's good to hear, right? That means Bryce Hall and guys like Sauce are back there doing their thing. And Sauce had a couple of plays where he stuck with Elijah Moore at one point and Garrett Wilson at one point, like right on their hips. Right on their hips, man. The kid is so fluid. To be that big and that fluid is kind of terrifying. But on the defensive side of the ball, here's one of the things that I think is most important. They started off slow. They started off slow. Last year, we as Jets fans were furious where they would start off slow and never make adjustments in the second half. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We would come out stubbornly, run the same defense, even though it kicked our butt in the freaking first half. They didn't adjust. Now, again, we didn't adjust the defense completely, but we saw that the game plan changed in the second half, and they either they created more pressure on Zach Wilson, and those guys understood to clock the clock in their heads to how long they had to stick to their guys, and they used the sideline against them. Like the second half really showed you the defense went back. Second half, they made adjustments, came back, and they slowed down that Zach Wilson offense. So to me, that's two major things we need to look at. How much Zach Wilson progressed from last year to this year. I believe last year when he ran the green and white game, he had I think 3 interceptions, 0 touchdowns, like a 57% or 53% completion percentage. He looked erratic. He looked unsure of himself. And at that time, I think a lot of us had some concerns. But again, he was a rookie. We understood that was going to be the case. Our defensive line was also a strength at that point. So it made all the sense in the world. Now we saw him progress so beautifully because our defensive line is better, our secondary is better. He still played well in the first half. During the press conference, they asked Robert Saleh if they were going to keep Coach LaFleur in the booth. He made a joke about it and whatnot, but said yes, he did. He was in the booth last night. It works out for him. We saw how that turned out last year. They're keeping him in the booth from day one. We saw a dramatic, I guess you can say a dramatic difference in terms of play calling when LaFleur was up in the booth versus when he was down in the field. So him starting off like that already, boom, more continuity, keeping everything in pace with Zach Wilson, right? So it's this was a good game. This was a good game. We saw great things from Tyler Conklin. We saw great things from freaking Sauce Gardner. The defensive line is going to eat. Like they're just going to create massive amounts of pressure. The offensive line, the starting group did kind of hold their own, right? Like they did kind of hold their own. It wasn't until I think the second group came out that you saw a lot more of that pressure and slowdown of the offense. It was one of those things that we as Jets fans like have been hoping to see for years now, right? Like progression in our quarterback. Zach Wilson being so confident in this offense right now is it's going to be scary. It's going to be scary, man. I'm telling y'all, 4,000 yards, and he's going to break the passing record this year for the New York Jets. Fully aware of that 4,007 yards. It's broken. I'm telling you right now that record is getting smashed this year. But he has the potential to go ahead and break several other records in touchdowns thrown, touchdowns ran. The kid is a freak athlete. There was one somebody caught him on the sideline. They were throwing the ball around and whatnot. Zach Wilson caught the ball with one hand, like unflinching, straight athlete, caught it with one hand, like, and it was caught on camera by a fan. So that was great videography by you. I appreciate it. It, man, football. I can't wait, man. I can't wait. Brees Hall shows he has all the electric and dominant skill sets he had in college. Again, I'm working on that Brees Hall comparison video. I'm going to be dropping that one soon. Michael Carter has those smooth hands. We see that the tight end room is so vastly improved. We did not see any of Ruckert. He wasn't out there today. Tevin Coleman really didn't get a lot of playing time, or if it was, I didn't see it. It was limited. Ty Johnson is still injured, and Connor McDermott got hurt today or last night during the Green and White game as well. He had to be escorted off the field. But with that said, the Jets also had Dwayne Brown present, who is interested. There's some mutual interest based off of the press conference with Robert Saleh that they would want to bring him on as a swing tackle, predominantly on the left side, right? I've seen a lot of content throughout the day and last night about, is Dwayne Brown considered elite or is he good? Like he's 36 years old, about to be 37. But needless to say, this guy was a Pro Bowler last year. A Pro Bowler last year. I think he's a four-time All-Pro, right? So he can bring in a level of stability on that left side. If I'm being honest, that we currently don't have on the roster. I mean, hell, he might be better than George Fant in all actuality. I'm just saying. So he was in town with a visit. You can see him on the sidelines, talking to I want to say it's Hogan and Joe Douglas, JD, the man. But hopefully something happens to that, right? Dwayne Brown would definitely be an asset to this roster. I know it ain't gonna come cheap. It's probably gonna cost a little bit, but I think we've got just enough cap room to make that work. And if we don't, Joe can make cap room to make that work. I think Dwayne Brown could be an asset at 36 years old, especially with Connor McDermott going down and George Fant and Mekhi Becton haven't shown us they can stay healthy, right? They get injured. I mean, George Fant did pretty well last year, but injuries happen. So it'll be great to see Dwayne Brown come on. I'm gonna be elated if that actually happens. But at the end of the day, man, the defense shined today or last night. Defense shined last night. Um, the offense shined last night. You're seeing it, and we get to see it against the Eagles next week. I think the real test is going to see how these guys operate as a unit come next week against the Eagles, first preseason game. I'm excited. You should be excited. We still have a couple of spots left on our fantasy football league. Again, if you're interested in fantasy football, entry is free. Just go on my Twitter. It's the pinned tweet. Go ahead and it's first come, first serve. We got like 4 spots left. It's free to you. The winner's going to get a championship autographed helmet or football by a current New York Jet or a New York Jet great. And second place is going to get a mini helmet signed by, again, a current New York Jet or a former New York Jet great. So it's free to enter. It's just a thank you to my subscribers, and I want to kind of engage, interact with you guys throughout the entire season, not just here, but also like on the fantasy football field. I think it'll be a good time. So yeah, that's your debrief. The green and white game showed us some things. We saw Zach Wilson definitely progress. He's progressed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And a couple of tweaks in training camp to go ahead and get that timing right with him and say Garrett Wilson. Elijah Moore doesn't drop the ball. Corey Davis stops dropping the ball. Like we're talking about what we saw last night in that first half. Oh my gosh, the possibilities are endless. They're literally endless. But we also saw that the defensive coaching right in the halftime they were able to adjust. They made adjustments. So they're not afraid to make adjustments if need be to go ahead and make sure the game plan is to stop the other team from doing whatever they're doing good. So again, this has been your New York Jets situation report debrief. The New York Jets green and white game. Man, what a good one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. More content to come. I can't wait for the season opener. If you're into fantasy football, do me a favor. Go to my Twitter, click on that link, and sign up. There's only 4 spots left. And yeah, go Jets. Till next time.